Hey, how's it going, everyone? Woohoo! Make some noise. Welcome. Oh, thank you, Polly. Hello, Andy. People creeping in the back. Awesome. I'm Ryan Mancey. I'm going to take you through this next presentation, which is called Taking You to Greater Heights. It's kind of a bit of a lie in the title there, because what I'm going to do is give you a framework for action so you can actually take yourself to greater heights. That's the intention of this. Right, a little bit about me first of all. So I've been skydiving since 1996. I know I don't look that old, but so 26 years now. Just over 12,000 jumps. I'm an instructor examiner. I'm a family man. I've got a wife, Lucy, who is she's down on the Romero stand, been doing the packing presentations and stuff today. And I've got a son as well, Forrester, who's 14. And I like to live an adventurous lifestyle. Now, if I was giving this presentation in like a community center or a school or something, it'd be, oh, you live an adventurous lifestyle. That's awesome. But I'm at Skydive Expo, so I'm guessing quite a few of you do as well. Right, first of all, we're going to talk about growth. So, it is human nature to progress and grow and become more. From the moment you're born, I mean, think about babies, they just lie there. They're completely dependent on other people, all right? They just lie there, they don't do anything, really. And then eventually, they kind of learn to roll over, and they start trying to crawl. So they progress from doing nothing to crawling. Then eventually, they try standing up. And they fall over a lot, but they don't at any point just stop and go, well, standing up isn't for me, so I'm not that kind of person. So they carry on, they learn to stand up, then they learn to walk, then they learn to run. So we could say it's actually in our DNA to grow and progress and become more. So this is true for all in nature as well. So think of a tree. It grows to the limitations of its resources and its environment. So think about the nutrients in the soil, the rain, the sunlight. Maybe this tree is sheltered by hills and things, so nice moderate winds coming through, and it grows to the nature of its environment pretty much. But when a storm comes, the tree that's been in a nice environment it just gets blown down. All right, so think about those trees that are out on cliff tops or by the sea. You go up on Dartmoor or something like that, or Cornwall, and you see these trees that have been shaped by their environment. You see, well, you can tell which way the wind usually blows there. All right, they get thrashed by hurricane force winds, and yet they stay standing. They're the really strong trees. So think of a boat. The safest place to keep a boat is in a harbour. But that's not what boats are built for. Boats are supposed to go out on the open sea and go on voyages of exploration and take people across continents and to go on journeys. So we have to leave the safety of the harbour to go on these journeys. Forget comfort. Comfort's nice, but you never grow. You have to get out of the harbour. We're either moving forwards or we're going backwards. We're never staying still. It feels that way sometimes, especially if you've been learning something and you progress, and all of a sudden it doesn't feel like you progress anymore. So we're just staying still, going stale, doing the same thing. But what is actually happening is you're either going backwards or you're moving forwards. So just if it feels that way, just keep pushing on. Right, I looked up the meaning of the word adventure, and basically it means an unusual or exciting or daring experience. Who here likes that sort of experience? Yeah, me too. Awesome. So let's have a look at goals. We've thought about growth, so we know why we want to grow. Goals. So anyone here got a goal that they're planning on doing this year? I'm just going to start picking on people. Yeah, what is it you're going to do? Oh, we've got a microphone coming. Oh, they're very shy.
I'll take the hit.
What is it you're going to do?
I've committed to working out. I want to gain some muscle, and I've got a gym membership now.
Awesome.
It's also helpful for extra weight for skydiving because I'm very light and want to arch a little bit less.
So you're going to go faster. Awesome. That's really cool. Anyone else? Any goals for this year? Going to get your C license done. How many jumps you got so far? 67. And you're planning on doing about 140 odd jumps this year. That's awesome. It is a goal. So we're looking at what goals we can set, but think of the journey that goal is going to take you on. So you're going to go to the drop zone, or various drop zones, and pretty much live there. All the people that you're going to be hanging out with. Think about all the different lessons and learning you're going to have along the way. Do you pack as well? Yeah. Awesome. So it's not just about that goal of getting to the C license. It's the journey and the people. And hang on. Let's have a look at different types of goals. So we've either got ego goals or mastery goals. An ego is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. And mastery is a comprehensive knowledge or skill in a particular subject or activity. Would you say that getting your C license is an ego goal or a mastery goal? It is a mastery goal, exactly that. Because of all the learning that's involved with that is going to stretch you, and you're going to grow and become more and be more knowledgeable and be able to do cooler stuff. What about in your gym work? Is that an ego goal or a mastery goal?
Bit of both.
Bit of both. Awesome. So just something to consider when you're setting goals. Ask yourself, is this an ego goal? Because an ego goal could be, I want to be the champion at something. Because if I'm the champion, then I'm better than those people. There's nothing wrong with ego goals, but ask yourself the reason why. Why do you want that? A mastery goal could be, for me, skydiving is my mastery goal. I'm planning on always to be jumping. I've been jumping my whole adult life so far, and I want to continue with that. So I don't have any specific goal that I'm trying to get to. Like, right, as soon as I'm the champion sky surfer or something, number one, best in the world. Once you have got there, well, what's next? There was some studies done years ago with astronauts, and what they found was a lot of people who've been training really, really hard, all the learning involved with that, training different procedures over the period of years, and then eventually they get to they're going on the mission, they do it, maybe walk on the moon, and then come back down to Earth, and it's like, yes, what's next? And once you've walked on the moon, it's like, what is next? So a lot of them became depressed. There were problems with depression, mental health issues, alcoholism, all that sort of stuff. So if the goal was a mastery goal, then it's like being a perfectionist. Things are never perfect, are they? And especially with this sport, even if you mastered everything in this sport, which would be pretty unlikely, but if you managed to do that, the sport itself is evolving and growing. So you're always going to be learning and growing and doing more. What I want you to do, watch this video. Imagine that you're just kind of visualizing this in your mind. This is kind of a goal. And just have a think that this is you doing this. up for that? Some people are saying yes, some are saying no. So we're looking at risk and reward now. So think about the goal that you want to do. Is the risk worth the reward? For me personally, that's not for me. I've got a family and responsibilities, and I wouldn't want to put myself in that position. I think if you did that often enough, you probably screw it up at some point, and there's not a great deal of margin for error there. So can someone tell me, what is the risk with that? Death. Yeah, pretty much. What is the chances of that happening? It's high. Yeah, that's there's very little margin for error with things like that. What about the rewards, though? If you manage to pull that off, what would the reward be? What does it say? It is an ego goal. Well, it could be an ego goal, or it could be a mastery goal in the sense that, I mean, if that's an ego goal, it's going to be great because you can show the video to all your mates. It's going to be on YouTube, and you know, who's going to top that? You know, yes, I'm king of the world. Look what I've done. That's awesome. But from a mastery point of view, you might have been working on your skills in wingsuiting and base jumping, and then combining those two things and getting better and better and more refined and more precise, you know, precision flying. And you might have been working up to that. And to you, getting to do that is kind of proof that you've finally actually got there. So there is mastery in that as well. It's not just ego. It could be for some people. So yeah, ask yourself, is your goal, is it worth doing? Yeah, it's a balance of risk and reward. If the reward is like you have such a burning desire to do that, then maybe it is worth doing, all right? But if you are going to take on a massive risk, then you've got to train for it. It's like you got to be obsessed with it and you're not going to spend less time or less money on equipment or training because the risk is so much that it doesn't balance that way. Any questions regarding that, risk and reward?
So if you've never done something like that before, how can you kind of quantify what the reward for it would be? So if I've not done that, then my kind of risk versus reward thing is quite not scaled because I don't know how rewarding that's actually going to be for me.
Yep.
What's a good way to look at that? Because it might be a lot more rewarding than you expect, or it might be a lot less rewarding than you expect. What happens when you get to that point and it's, you know, you're not sure?
I think that's just asking yourself the questions. And just, I mean, what we're going to look at in a minute is kind of this framework for action, which I'm going to put you in a moment. But through trying out things, I mean, this isn't this guy's first flight, is it? So he's been doing, I don't think it was anyway, he's been doing that for years and gradually building and building and building. So along that journey, like the answers to the questions can change. So a lot of it is reflection. So maybe journaling, and we'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, you can speak to other people about it and get their opinion, but it's going to be different for every person, isn't it? Like, does that answer the question?
Yes.
No worries, good.
Thank you.
Are you thinking of doing this in Cornwall? Yeah, awesome. Hang on. Right, so courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important. Who here remembers their first jump? Excellent. Were you scared? Yeah, absolutely. Just like this guy. But what is it that makes you continue with it? Because fear is not a very nice feeling, is it? So there's something inside that makes you want to push further forwards. Here's a Charles Darwin quote. Now, people always say that he said something along the lines of, only the strongest survive. But actually, his actual quote was, it's not the most intellectual of the species that survives. It's not the strongest that survives, but the species that survives is the one that's best able to adapt and adjust to the changing environment in which it finds itself. In other words, be adaptable. You might have a goal, but the journey to that goal can change. There may be different journeys that you can go on in order to still achieve whatever goal it is that you want to do. Right, so we've looked at growth, the reasons why we want to do things. We've looked at setting goals. Now we need to put a plan together. Fail to plan, plan to fail. So we need to start gathering some resources. So, regarding inspiration, build a library of books. So, this is some books from my personal library at home. I love reading. I read loads of stuff. But this is, I read a book from cover to cover, and then it sits on the shelf for a while. And if I've got a project or a trip or something I'm going to be doing, then I pull the book out again and I start learning from it. So I use it as a source of reference and a source of inspiration to go and do other things. My cat, I'm not sure which book he was planning on weeing on. Or maybe he's thinking about taking up paragliding or something, I don't know. He did wee on my wife's jumpsuit a little while ago. And she goes to the wind tunnel for like a four-way event and puts her suit on. She's standing there and it's like, can anyone smell cat piss? Disgusting, horrible. Right, manuals. So yeah, books and manuals, technical manuals. There's loads of manuals on the British Skydiving website, and we're going to get into that in a moment. But also equipment manuals and stuff like that. Podcasts. So ideally, what we want to do, whatever goal it is you have planned, you need to find the best in the world and then ask them just ask them a load of questions, really, on how they achieved that, what was their journey and what were their goals and things like that. But if you can't get hold of the best in the world, then find some podcasts. Most of the time they're free. You can get them on YouTube or whatever. You don't even have to pay for them. But you can get some great information. Videos. YouTube's a great source of videos for getting inspired and learning as well. And audio. So I've been skydiving full time for about just over 20 years. And also playing music in bars. That's how I've been earning my living for many years. And then lockdown happened, and I couldn't do either of those things. So a friend of mine was a truck driver and says, why don't you retrain and learn to drive trucks? And that way, when everything goes back to normal, you get a spate of bad weather during the winter or whatever, you can roll around in a truck and earn some money as well. And for now, you can work as a key worker. So that's what I did. And what I found was, I turned the truck into like a rolling university. Like audiobooks. Just download loads of audiobooks and driving through the night, learning loads of new stuff and getting inspired about going on trips and things like that. Really, really useful. Turn your car into a classroom. And the environment which you put yourself in. So depending on what it is or where, for instance, I love paragliding and speed flying and stuff like that as well. So I need to put myself in an environment where I've got access to all those things. So the Bracken Beacons, for instance, or out in France in the Alps or the Dolomites. So where you go, you can get a massive amount of inspiration depending on where you are as well. And use things to put yourself in a state, in a positive state so you can get out there and do stuff. Use music. When you're doing your gym stuff, do you listen to music?
Yes.
Why?
Because I don't think I'd be able to concentrate otherwise. I'd
Cool.
just be bored.
Yeah, when you're doing something that's kind of...
And it helps kind of encourage you, because I listen to like heavy rock when I'm at the gym, because it's like that kind of... It's easier to weightlift if you've got something like that playing.
Yes, it is.
I don't know why, but it is.
So when I go to the gym, usually I'm listening to something like Pantera or something full on. And that, for me, inspires me to push harder. If I go out for a run, I'm listening to well, just usually heavy stuff or punk rock, and it inspires me to, just to push it and do more. Basically, it changes your state, doesn't it? So you change your emotional state to be able to do stuff. So whatever music is that you're into, use it as a source of inspiration to push yourself harder. Art, like affirmations, there's lots of different things that you can use to put yourself in a good state. You could even kiss the lucky egg.
Ready? Ready. Feel the rhythm. Feel the rhyme. Get on up. It's bobsled time. Cool running.
Right, so use your emotions wisely. You don't have to be happy to get stuff done. In our culture at the moment, if people aren't feeling happy all the time, it's like there's something wrong. I think it's important that as human beings, we experience a broad range of emotions. Trouble is, if I'm at home and I'm not really feeling it, don't really want to go to the gym today or whatever it is I'm going to do, usually if I just make myself do it, I feel way better afterwards. So yeah, like I'm saying, you don't have to feel amazing to get into the training of whatever it is you're doing. Anyone here ever heard of a guy called David Goggins? A couple of people nodding there. This guy here, there's a book there called Can't Hurt Me. Really inspiring guy. So he's come from a background where he was horribly abused throughout his entire childhood. Came from a very violent family. He's a black guy that lived about 15 minutes from the Ku Klux Klan. All right, so racially abused his whole life. He grew up in a bit of a state, really. He was a big guy. He was over 300 pounds. And eventually he just went, right, no more. I'm going to make some changes. And this came about because he watched a video of the Navy SEALs and the training that they go through in something called Hell Week. So he lost the weight. He became a Navy SEAL eventually, and there's a massive story to that. It's amazing. Then he got big into ultramarathon running and things like that. He's done 100-mile races regularly. He's even done a 240-mile race, right? But there's nothing there that's happy when he's doing these things. He got pretty much PTSD just from his childhood, let alone the combat stuff that he did through his military career. But he calls it darkness mining. So he has these dark, negative thoughts that usually stop people in their tracks, but he uses it as fuel and energy so something positive comes out of it. Now we've gathered all this information, we are in danger of drinking from the fire hose of information. All right? So we need to have a tool for reducing workload. This is a massive shortcut to success. It's called the 20-80 principle. The idea is you find the 20% of things that will give you the 80% of the results that you're after and focus on that. All right? The 20-80 principle. Can be a bit tricky. You've got to think, well, what is the 20% of things? And the only way you're going to learn that is to go and speak to people that are already doing what it is that you're doing. If it's a skydiving goal, for instance, then go find the right person to go and ask about it. Find an instructor or a rigger or whatever it is that, and you can gather that information and it just reduces your workload massively. Right, investments in skill and equipment. Kit, courses, qualifications, and ratings. We need to have loads of toys, don't we? We love flying toys, for sure. So, how much is a brand new rig these days? How much, sorry? $8,000. Yeah, it's a lot of money. And if you've got that money, that's cool. By all means, if you invest in some brand new equipment, you're going to have it a very long time, aren't you? I don't have that money. So what you could do is go, okay, well, say my goal is I want to compete in four-way skydiving. All right, I want to be in a four-way team. Right, number one, do I need brand new kit? Well, if I've got the money, that's cool, but you don't need brand new kit. There's plenty of airworthy equipment that's second-hand. So you could spend maybe £1,500 on a rig, and that'll get you in the air. It might not look too pretty, but get it checked out by a rig and make sure it's airworthy and it's safe. That then leaves you with quite a lot of money left over, which you can invest in training. So get in the wind tunnel, get some training done, find a coach, get coached in the air, find a group of people, and go flying with them regularly, rather than just spending all your money on a rig and then just, you know what I mean? You're being wise with your resources. Right, family and community. So we're building a network of people, and it's all part of the journey as well. So you're in a really good place at the minute because we can be networking. We've got all of our family, all right? We've got our all the people out there. Think of the amount of experience, the amount of jump numbers that are here today. All right, there's loads and loads of people. I've been very lucky with the journeys that I've been on. I mean, this is my family. That's me. That's my wife, Lucy, and that's our son, Forrester. That's our friend, Ant. So we've got our direct family, and then we've got our outer family as well. Then we've got mentors and coaches along the way. So over there, that's Norman Kent. Anyone know who Norman Kent is? Very, very good. Well, he's a cameraman in the sport, but he's been doing it for years. And he does sort of Hollywood movies, camera work for that as well. I was lucky enough that he used to come to a drop zone over in the UK and would spend the time to coach and mentor the camera team there. So I learned quite a lot off of Norman. He's a great guy. Andy Guest, anyone know Andy? Yep. So Andy down at Dunk as well. So when I started skydiving, Andy was a Royal Marine down at Dunks. And he was one of the guys that taught me how to jump. And then years later, I was going for my advanced instructor rating, and he coached me for that. So he's been a great coach and mentor of mine for many years. My paragliding life, I've got a bunch of friends in paragliding. Pete Mack and Pete Gallagher, these guys are very, very experienced paragliders, and they've been kind of coaching and mentoring me along the way. This guy here, he's in his 90s teaching people to fly aeroplanes. So he's one of the guys that taught me how to fly an aeroplane, Jeff. So yeah, no matter what your goals are, and you go on these journeys, you meet all these people. But yeah, it's really important, coaches and mentors. Right, next up, we're going to look at a bit of I call it the results machine. It's a few things that we can do. If we do them repetitively, we can get serious results from it, all right? So scheduling is one. What gets scheduled is what gets done. So you've got your goal in mind. Start thinking of little goals along the way to be able to get there. So write down a daily schedule of things. Once you've done that, take massive action on it. The more action you take, the more results you can achieve quicker. So be proactive. Being proactive is your most useful tool of all. When I started out becoming an instructor, I was at Netherhaven years ago, and the chief instructor there was Nigel Allen, and he said something that sticks with me today, and I've used for years and years, because I was sat there reading these lesson plans, and I'd sit there and I'd rehearse them in my head. And he came over and he was like, okay, you can sit there and read that stuff, and that kind of works, but what I'm telling you to do, be proactive. Like, go grab some people, other skydivers, and say, do you mind if I just present a lesson to you? And then present the lesson like you're presenting it to students. So that's what I started doing, and that's been the most useful thing that I've done really in the sport, because I managed to do all my instructor ratings and various other things, but just be as proactive as you can. As the Spartan warriors used to say, sweat more in training, bleed less in war. Once we've taken this massive action and we've achieved a set of results, we can then reflect on that. So you can think, journal, use what comes out of this process. Once you have that information, you can then set up the next schedule with the new things that you from the learnings. Massive action, reflect, get the results, scheduling, action, reflection. This is a results machine, round and round. And when do we stop doing this? Can anyone tell me? Never. Keep going until you achieve your goal. But if it's a mastery goal, then it's never going to be finished, is it? You're always going to be learning and doing more. Right, education, training, and cross sports. So cross sports is something I came up with. I'll explain in just a moment. So here's a question for you to ask every now and again, which I found really, really useful. In the last 3 months, what books or manuals have you read? What courses or seminars have you attended? And what further training have you undertaken? Once you've written that down, in the next 3 months, what books or manuals will you read? What courses or seminars will you attend? And what further training will you undertake? It's a really simple little exercise to do, but there is absolute power in that. You can set yourself up. It can change everything if you go through that exercise. Right, speaking of manuals, so the British Skydiving website, we have a really good system, and I don't think it gets used enough. A lot of people don't even realize that these manuals exist, but they're all free to members on the website. So, number one, you've got the operations manual, and in there is something called the grading system. So everyone knows what the grading system is, yeah? So say you want to learn to be a free flyer, or you want to go tracking or something like that. In the grading system, you'll find it, and it gives you a list of things that you need to do to be able to do that. It's like a safe progression, or the safest way that you can do it. And then find the manual for whatever it is that you want to learn. Maybe you want to learn to be a camera flyer or wingsuit flyer or whatever it is. And you've got a great resource of information there. Now, as soon as you write something down, it does tend to go out of date immediately, by the way. So some of the stuff is very, very relevant. I mean, the foundations are going to be there. Some of the bits and pieces might have changed slightly. So, you know, the way people turn in formation skydiving or whatever it is. So it's important then to find a coach and get coached on stuff rather than just trying it out for yourself. Right, this is something I call cross sports. So what sports or activities can you take part in that will assist on your journey to your goals? So for me, as I mentioned earlier, my sort of main goal is, which is a mastery goal, is skydiving. In general, it's not any particular one thing. Things that have really helped me along this kind of micro goals along the way are these extra sports I've taken on. So learning to fly airplanes was a great one. I mean, I just learned more about flying in general. So I'm a musician, so playing guitar in bars for years. And then at Dunk as well, we were on, as you do, weather holds, where you just saw the weather's come in again. So we start drinking coffee and talking nonsense to each other, and this tends to go on for hours, and then, the weather's get better. So I was chatting to someone down at Dunk as well, and I was like, all the time that we spend on weather holds, if we did something, like, productive with that time, think what you could achieve. I reckon you could do a degree or something like that with the amount of time that you have. And we just kind of laughed it off. And then I really thought about that. And I thought, I'd love to get back to studying music, because I was playing it in bars and stuff for years, but I'd never really done a proper study of it. So for the next 5 years, I did a degree in music. And I literally managed to do that on weather holds. So soon as there's bad weather, I would disappear into one of the classrooms and start writing coursework. I had a little mobile recording studio, and I'd be there recording, practicing exercises and stuff like that. And I literally managed to do my music degree on weather holds. So think about something that you could do on weather holds that would push you further towards whatever goals you want to do. I just love being outdoors as well. I think any opportunity to get out, either in the ocean or at mountains or in forests or whatever, I just recommend get out as much as possible. Paragliding and speed flying, I've absolutely fallen in love with, and they've taken me on some crazy adventures. Last year, I was in the French Alps, And it was just the scenery, the people, the food, everything was just absolutely incredible. Floating around mountains, it was brilliant. Wind tunnel flying is an obvious one for all of us. It's not skydiving, but we can get specific things that we want to learn and learn them in the wind tunnel, which is a controlled, mostly safe environment, so that when we get into the sky, it's like we're dialing it in. So wind tunnel flying, whilst it's not the same sport, actually it's massively beneficial. And no matter what standard you get to, you can always learn new stuff. I think it's important to keep physically fit as best as you can, especially if you want to have more energy to be able to put into your goals and whatever it is you want to do. Personally, I started doing Ironman triathlon. I've done 3 of them so far, and I've done a double marathon as well. So I love the endurance event stuff. Does anyone here do anything like that? Would you like to? I highly recommend look into it. It's really good stuff. Oh, and what I was going to say, the whole journey of going on these events as well with all the people, it's just amazing. Right, success. Success is the opposite direction to your comfort zone. All right, so comfort is useful in the sense of, well, if you train really, really hard at something and then put yourself in a state of comfort so you can just relax, rest, recuperate, then you can push even harder next time. It's something, there's a guy called Robin Sharma who's like a personal development guy, and he talks about the twin cycles of elite performers. And that's what the top guys do. All right, they push really, really hard. Usain Bolt, for instance, the runner, he says he sleeps 50% of the time when he's in training. All right, so he pushes really, really hard, and then he just completely rests. Pushes really hard, and then just rests. And if you carry that on, like your progress can be amazing. People give up when things get hard, but they give up more when things get boring. All right, boring is the biggest killer of your goals and dreams. All right, so find a way of pushing past that. Like you in the gym, you're saying about you have music because it gets pretty dull when you're just doing on a running machine, you know. So here's a quote by Muhammad Ali: "There's nothing wrong with getting knocked down as long as you get right back up." Now, if you get knocked down and you on your ego goal, so I'm going to be the champion and I'm not the champion, you've hung your identity on it, and that can, you know, I mean, people commit suicide and stuff because of things like that. All right. Whereas if it was a mastery goal, getting knocked down isn't a big deal. It's just part of learning, because that's great. You've now achieved a set of results. I tried that thing. It didn't work. Cool. Well, I won't do that again. I'll do it differently this time. So there's nothing wrong with getting knocked down and failing stuff, but get straight back up and just push harder. What's CPD? It's kind of a buzzword at the minute. Yep. Continuous professional development or personal development. So notice the word continuous. Like I was saying about mastery goals, it's you just keep on going over and over and over again. Always developing skill, growing, becoming more. Stay inspired so you can give more. Once you get to a standard, I think it's important then to teach the new generation. All right, so for me with skydiving, I absolutely fell in love with it, and I was doing the hell out of it. And then I thought, I can now start teaching other people. So think of the things that you want to do. Maybe it is you're a wingsuit flyer, and you go out and do these events and gain all this experience. And then at some point, I highly recommend become a coach. And then you can help the new guys come along. And if everyone's doing that, it's just a great thing. So looking at the bigger picture, these sports, these activities, the things that we do, it's great for mental health and well-being, your physical health, growth and progression, and it becomes a lifestyle. It's not just, I do that sport. It's like the sport becomes you. It becomes a lifestyle. So here's a summary. Growth and evolving are deep in our DNA. All right? It is natural for human beings to want to become more. So we can achieve that by setting goals and going on these journeys in order to get the goals. We can use planning, gathering resources, getting inspired and staying inspired. That use the 2080 principle in order to reduce the workload. We use our results machine, so we're going to schedule, write a daily to-do list, get out there and do it as much as you can, take massive action on it, and then achieve those results, reflect on those results so that you can reschedule and keep on going. We've looked at education, training, and cross sports to embellish whatever it is that you're doing, which are sports, not the same sport or activity, but other things. And we looked at success, the reasons for success, and beyond. Does anyone have any questions for me? Right, I want you to think about some more goals that you can set this year. So, what is it you'd like to do, aside from your... Maybe go wingsuiting. Awesome. Yeah, for sure. That's you could do that. That's achievable. What about you, Paula? You're going to the tunnel? Yes, excellent. Good stuff. What is it you want to work towards in the wind tunnel? Yeah.
Myself.
Awesome. How many tandems have you done now?
The AAD Vigil Prize.
28. 28 tandems now. So for sure. So now it's about learning to fly your body on your own in the wind tunnel. Fantastic. Where's that coming from? Thank God I thought it was the voices in my head. They tell me to do bad things. Awesome. So what I'm encouraging you to do, think of some goals and things and then just get out there and push yourself hard. Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm Ryan. I will see you at the bar.